Welcome to the Cloud Pod, where the forecast is always cloudy. We talk weekly about all things AWS, GCP, and Azure. We are your hosts,
Justin,
Jonathan,
Ryan,
and Peter.
Episode 125, recorded on July 7th, 2021. JEDI is dead, and the Cloud Pod launches Bottlerockets in celebration. Good evening, Peter. How's it going?
I'm doing well. It's going to be a quiet night, just you and me, huh?
Yeah, unfortunately, when you have shows in summer, people like to take vacation. And so, unfortunately, Jonathan's out on vacation, enjoying hopefully quality time on the beach. And Ryan, I'm not exactly sure where he's run off to tonight, but we weren't able to get him for recording. And we have a limited window to record this week. So we had to take advantage of what we could. So it's like the old days when just me and you and Jonathan skipped out on us before we added Ryan.
Yeah, that's cool. We'll do it.
Yeah,
Nail it.
Old school tonight.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Love it.
Well, we have a lot of exciting news this week. And the show title, of course, tips off one of our first stories, which would be JEDI. And JEDI is dead. Pentagon is canceling their $10 billion JEDI cloud contract that Amazon and Microsoft were fighting over. And I'm just glad it's over and it's done. This announcement came on Tuesday after it called off the $10 billion cloud contract, which was being dragged through the court by Amazon and Microsoft, which is sort of an admission that the Pentagon didn't want Donald Trump to get maybe subpoenaed and had to testify on what his involvement was in the whole contract. Of course, it's not really dead. They're just relabeling it as the Joint Warfighter Cloud Capability, which will be a joint multi-cloud offering where basically pick the right cloud for the right need at the right time, which is what we kind of said they should do about 6 months ago when this all was kind of getting up a big deal. But overall, this is now in the right direction, and we'll see what they end up doing here at this new bid, but we won't talk about it. I'm done talking about the Pentagon and their cloud strategy after 2 years of JEDI. I think I'm good. How about you, Peter?
Yeah, when it's more than 2 years, if you add in from the beginning, I mean that's just from since they announced Microsoft as a winner.
Well, I mean, 2 years that we've been talking about it because we only had a show for 2 years. So, but yeah, no, it existed before that even. So it's been going on for a very long time.
Which is totally ironic, given the fact that the whole point of the cloud is to make you agile and increase velocity. And they've been bickering for probably 3 years now about how to get started.
No matter how agile you really are, the government will find a way to make you not agile. So, perfect example of that here in this cloud contract. So, but unfortunately, Jonathan and Ryan aren't here. I'm sure they'd be gleefully happy too that we don't have to talk about this anymore. So we are glad to put JEDI in the rearview mirror and move on and talk about other great news this week. And our next story is a little close to the show here. Evoke Data Center Solutions, which is a global provider of co-location and connectivity services. And just for those who don't talk about, this is actually the spin out of AT&T's data center business. So AT&T got out of the business and spun it off into a new company called Evoke Data Center Solutions. They have announced its acquisition of Foghorn Consulting. Peter,
yay!
What's happening?
Us. What the?
That's you. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Why haven't I heard about this?
With the addition, Evoke expands their application-first suite of services, providing future-forward companies with the best of cloud and co-location solutions. And this is a key part of Evoke's multi-generational infrastructure, or MGI strategy, which they also announced with the press release here. Foghorn apparently will be serving as Evoke's cloud engineering arm, delivering additional value for Evoke's clients worldwide. And there's a couple quotes here. First up, Andy Stewart, who's the president and CEO at Evoke Data Center Solutions, says, over the past 13 years, Foghorn has built an enviable reputation as an innovative cloud engineering leader with exceptional customer service, cloud expertise, and winning culture. With the acquisition of Foghorn, Evoke continues to execute on our growth strategy and give our customers a future-forward and flexible solution that puts their businesses and applications first. We are pleased to welcome Foghorn's team of seasoned and talented cloud and hybrid engineers to Evoke as key partners in their growth. Which is great, I guess, at the end of the day. So what does that mean, Peter? Like, cut that, cut through the noise of the press release.
Yes. We've Foghorn has been a cloud agnostic consulting provider for since our inception, since before there were multiple clouds, really, if you think about it. And there's obviously the co-location and physical hardware piece to a fully infrastructure agnostic solution capability. So we really liked Evoke. We've been talking to probably dozens of companies have come to us in the last 5 years interested in Foghorn, either strategic partnerships or acquisitions. And we just really hadn't found anything that was more interesting than what we were doing today. And working with Andy and the leadership at Evoke, we got really excited about this plan to really be that customer-centric infrastructure company. And so Andy and their team are great, and we're super excited to work with them and help companies with their overall infrastructure strategy. And that goes, obviously Foghorn, we're infrastructure agnostic, and then teaming up with a company that's willing to put together flexible solutions, including flexible commercials, which you don't see in colo. Everything in colo is just a fixed 3-year contract. Has been a breath of fresh air. So, we're super excited about working with them. They're backed by Brookfield, which is a large PE firm. So now we're not limited anymore with a very small sales team and small amount of capital. We can really, I think we can really do some cool stuff. So we're super excited about this. We've been working with them probably for about the last 6 months in not just prepping for the acquisition, but also for this MGI strategy, which they were gracious in letting us participate in that.
So what does that mean exactly? I've never heard the term multi-generational infrastructure.
Yes.
What can you unpack it a little bit for us?
Sure. I mean, I think the heart of it is really being flexible and looking at each from an infrastructure strategy perspective, looking at each of your applications and designing and maintaining an infrastructure that is optimized for that application. So you and I do that all the time with infrastructure that's all in the cloud. We develop a specific set of servers and load balancers, et cetera, that tailor to that application. And this is really about doing that for entire companies. So an application first approach to your infrastructure strategy instead of either an all-in strategy or all container strategy or all cloud strategy or all colo strategy.
So really you're taking what's the best fit for each application, if it's on-prem in the colo at Evoke, or is it in AWS or Google or Azure or whatever customer wants to go with. That's really kind of what you're picking, and then that life cycle as it continues to evolve, or even a hybrid app that maybe runs on both is really what you're helping customers figure out.
Absolutely. Exactly. And we've got a great colo company who's willing to go down that journey and understand that, all the workloads aren't going to be in the data center, and that's okay. We still want to be part of the conversation.
Well, that's awesome. Well, congratulations to you and the team. I know, Alex and I talked about this when it happened, and I wish you guys all the best of luck, and hope you continue to sponsor us. We love to have your, you guys with us all the way through this. And we tapped into Matt and some other people at your company to guest host when you've been on vacation, which has always been great. And a wealth of knowledge at Foghorn. One of the reasons why we're excited that they're a sponsor, and we're eager to have you, our listeners, actually reach out to them and get into this MGI strategy, because it's really cool. It's a really neat concept, and I think it's something different, especially if you do have this need for colo and cloud, and you want to embrace best of both worlds and get the best bang for your buck.
Yep. Yeah, we're excited about it, and hopefully we'll have more announcements coming as far as offerings. So we'll see what happens.
Well, the other big story we talked about a little bit last week was InfiniDash, and so we just kind of touched base of it, I think after the lightning round, a little bit about it. And so I thought we'd kind of cover a little bit, because it continues to be a very hot topic on the cloud space Twitter universe. So InfiniDash was a joke conceived by Joe Nash, who's one of the Amazon Twitter people. And his tweet said, I am convinced that a small and dedicated group of Twitter devs could tweet hot takes about a completely made up AWS product, I don't know, Amazon, AWS, InfiniDash or something, and it would appear as a requirement on job specs within a week. And from there, of course, it took a life of its own, from numerous Twitter folks getting on the joke, tweeting about it, a whole bunch of blog posts. There's even a GitHub repository now with all of the different things about InfiniDash, so you can go see all the partnerships for finding InfiniDash SDKs for Rust.net. You can, there's a couple open source implementations of InfiniDash called OpenDash, and of course, there's satire in all of this around, Amazon, of course, screwing over OpenDash by announcing InfiniDash is there, all the things that we talk about here quite often. And so there's been a little bit of backlash actually that kind of came out of the community too, and saying, it's already hard enough to learn cloud. This reason why, we actually do this podcast, because we want to help you guys keep on top of what's happening in the space. But they were concerned that people are coming into Twitter or into technology, and actually it did show up in some people's job descriptions, more as a joke, kind of getting on the joke. But people don't know that's a joke and they don't know what it is. And so now all of a sudden it's some type of technology or Twitter gatekeeping, which is kind of the negative side of it. So there's definitely some interesting discussions about it and some interesting thoughts. But overall, if you see AWS InfiniDash or Amazon InfiniDash in your life right now, just know it's a fake product. And it's just a joke. And you may not find it funny, but someone does somewhere out there.
Well, I think, it's kind of a compliment to AWS and the fact that they release so many products so fast that nobody's surprised when another one pops up. People are making jokes.
And I haven't heard of it. Oh, no surprise yet. Because I'm behind on my episode of the Cloud Pod, or I haven't checked out last week an AWS newsletter or whatever else. And then the other thing that, just the parodies of all of the typical complaints, people complaining it doesn't have CloudFormation support day one. It doesn't have, like the open source thing. It was just, if you're in this world like we are, and, we kind of exposed to you guys here as our listeners, there's a way that Amazon announces things in a way that the community reacts to very typically. And this is just, showing how easy it is to show how people are just kind of in this automatic reaction. Like everyone's negative about it if it's open source. Everyone's positive about it. It ends up on job descriptions with ridiculous 5-year requirements for, skill sets. It's just things that happen every time. It just, satired quite well in this whole thing. So do peruse the GitHub repo. It is interesting to check out what they got going on in there and just take a look at it. So, well, July 5th came and went, Peter. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I did.
And a big thing happened in the world. The Amazon CEO stepped down, and Andy Jassy took over. Officially, as of July 5th, Andy is now in charge of the Amazon ship. And best of luck to him. And the stock price so far this week has been pretty positive about the news. Andy wrote an email to all of the AWS employees on Sunday night, and he, I want to quote something he said in the email. You guys are a smart, widely inventive, missionary, customer-obsessed, insurgent, and action-oriented, hardworking group with high ownership and trying to build a business that outlasts all of us. So he was very thankful to the AWS team who got him where he is, and wish him the best of luck under Adam Slipsky. So we will now see what the Slipsky era brings us in the AWS space. But congratulations to Andy. I hope Jeff enjoys his retirement. May it be long as he gets through the Blue Origin space launch in a few weeks.
You think he's bored already? He's like, oh my God, it's been 2 days. I don't know what to do. I think I made a big mistake.
No, I think he's got enough other side projects that can keep him busy. He can go play with the Washington Post for a bit. He can go do some Blue Origin stuff. All the things.
Oh my God, he's going to have a field day with the Post and Trump.
Yeah, Trump's suing Twitter and Google and Facebook today, I saw. So, for banning him from their platforms. That'd be a good free speech.
Funny.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. It'd be a good free speech conversation at the end of the day.
Yeah,
ends up.
We'll see where it ends up.
I assume that the tech companies will be victorious in this because it's their platform. You accept the user rights and user agreements, and you're not a public office anymore. I don't think you have any right to force your way back onto a platform that kicked you off.
Yeah, make your own platform.
I think he tried and realized that was going to be expensive.
Yeah, not just expensive, right? It's not just money. If it was just money, you could do it. It's not just money.
Yeah, it's not just money. Well, Amazon Prime Day was just a few weeks back, and I did not buy anything this year. I don't know about you, Peter. Did you pick up any awesome Prime Day sale event items?
Here's what's awful is I probably bought something on Prime Day and didn't know it was Prime Day.
I mean, that's sort of the pandemic thing is I just buy stuff on Amazon all the time. Yeah. It's just a constant barrage of Amazon boxes. I almost wish they had a service where I could just subscribe to them. Like, hey, everything I ordered for the week, just bundle it into one box at the end of the week and just ship it once.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't have to deal with all the boxes. Totally.
Yeah, exactly. I'd almost pay for that service as part of my Prime. Like, I want Prime, eco-friendly Prime, which, less boxes, less cardboard, less shipping. Jeff apparently took care of some shopping, though. He bought a new TV, he said. As well as some gardening supplies and a Dremel for his workshop and a magic mirror. Because yes, Jeff, you are the fairest of them all. So remember that Amazon talks about Prime Day in a really weird way. They talk about their compute as a basically an internalized normalized instance or an NI unit. And this unit they use to make meaningful comparisons between the different types and sizes of EC2 instances. And that way they can compare them year to year because, of course, there's been the C3, the C4, the C5s. And the performance gets better every year for them, and they can do different things. But for this year, they actually increased the number of NIs by 12.5%. But due to increased efficiency, they used about 6,000 fewer machines than they did for Cyber Monday in 2020. And of course, you ask the question, how is that possible? And the answer is, of course, Graviton 2, which supported 12 core retail services this time around. This being the first peak event supported at scale by the Graviton 2 processors. And this is partially because of an internal service called DataPath was moved to the Graviton 2 architecture for a highly optimized workload and need that supports lookups, queries, and joins across structured blobs of data. This service ran on 53,200 C6G instances of compute. Now, we talk about, does your cloud provider have enough compute capacity? If they're scaling for Amazon size of 52,200 boxes just for one customer, they've got you handled, I think. That's a lot of pretty new Graviton processors that are available to them in a pretty big way. At this kind of scale, the price performance advantage of the Graviton 2 was up to 40% compared to the 5th generation or the C5 x86 based instances with a 20% lower cost. And as a bonus, the Graviton helped them achieve their goals for climate change because it was more efficient and less power usage. CloudFront, of course, was also very active, as it always is, handling a peak load of over 290 million HTTP requests per minute for a total of 600 billion HTTP requests during Prime Day, which is a lot. It's just massive scale.
600 billion. Jeez, please.
SQS, which is a key service for fulfillment processing, set a new record processing 47.7 million messages per second at peak. I like to get my service limit increased to 47.7 million messages per second. I'm not sure I can do that.
That'd be pretty funny if the guy got the owner of the product got declined. He's like, hey,
yeah,
I'm Amazon.
I can do whatever I want. I'm Amazon. The EBS fleet handled 11.1 trillion requests per day and transferred over 614 petabytes per day of data. And the Aurora helped the Amazon Fulfillment Technologies team power physical fulfillment for purchases made with over 3,715 instances of AFT's Postgres-based Aurora, which processed over 233 billion transactions and stored 1.5 terabytes of data and transferred 615 terabytes of data by itself. And then DynamoDB, rounding out the numbers, with handled trillions of API calls, obtaining single-digit millisecond performance and peaking at 89.2 million requests per second. Whew, that's a lot of compute. I think that's pretty insane, but impressive all the less. And Ryan's joined us as well. So hi, Ryan.
Yay!
Hey,
Ryan.
Yeah, at this rate, you guys are going to have to start editing me in at the start of the episodes. But, talk to Jonathan on that when he gets back from vacation.
Yeah.
Those numbers are crazy town.
So
it's awesome.
So to do this, I mean, obviously they're not just building out their normal capacity and then hoping that all this capacity is available when Prime Day comes. You think they're building out all of the additional net capacity they're going to need for Prime Day, not even allowing it to be purchasable, and then do Prime Day, and then that's the new inventory to continue to sell AWS?
I don't know. I suspect that they have their own zones or regions that power the Amazon cloud. I don't think they're in normal AWS world, even though maybe parts of it are. I mean, maybe they do. I have no inside knowledge on this. But you think about Netflix, who kind of had its own availability zones dedicated to their workloads of how big it is. I'd assume that Amazon has something similar, or at least carved out areas that those capacity somewhat reserved for them, because they do know they need some level of steady state, and then maybe they burst into the larger cloud when they need the capacity. But it could be the other way around too. Maybe they buy it for them for peak, and then they give it back to the bigger cloud community. But knowing that Black Friday is only 4 or 5 months away, I'm not sure that makes sense to do that.
Then they just start building. Then they build up. They have Prime Day. They've got a ton of inventory that their other consumers then start buying as their service grows. But they're building out at that same time. They're building out for Black Monday,
Black Friday, Cyber Monday,
Cyber Monday. Sorry, I was thinking Cyber Monday. Yeah, then they're building out for Cyber Monday, and then they release that after Cyber Monday.
I wonder if that's where part of the reason Prime Day exists, right? So that, they're not competing with their customers on, Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just assume it's one of those things you looked at the revenue by quarter and you're like, ooh, the summer's a little soft. How do we boost the summer sales numbers? And, we put in a sales event in the middle of it, just like every other retailer in the world has done. That's why there's, that's where Christmas in July came from as a concept. So as retailers saying, we got to come up with a way to sell stuff. All right. Well, Ryan, we did talk about a very important story while you were gone, which is that the Pentagon canceled their $10 billion JEDI contract. So
that's the real reason I missed the beginning of the episode. I just couldn't stand to talk about JEDI just one more time.
That's the last
this is the time you want to talk about it. You get to say it's over.
Yes, it's a fantastic day for that. So we are definitely end of the JEDI world. And then another big news, of course, that you missed is Evoke Data Center Solutions has acquired Foghorn Consulting, which you were aware of before the show, but we talked about that as well. So anything you want to add to either of those topics before we kind of move on here?
No.
Okay. Well, you should listen back. Peter gave a great overview of what Evoke and Foghorn are going to be doing in the future. So definitely check that out.
Excellent.
Well, something you can talk about is ECS. And so I am pleased to announce that Amazon has announced the general availability of the ECS optimized Bottlerocket AMI. Of course, Bottlerocket is an open source OS purpose-built to run containers. Bottlerocket includes only the software needed to run containers and comes with a single-step update mechanism, which greatly improves your security posture and reduces maintenance overhead for your ECS clusters. And ECS will help you automate the OS updates for Bottlerocket, which improves your application deliverability and reduces disruptions during updates. Available to you in all AWS regions to support ECS. So pretty awesome. There's also a blog post here about getting started with Bottlerocket. It gives you exactly how to do it through code and through the console, so you can play with this new Bottlerocket capability.
Yeah. No, this is a long time coming, and this has been in preview for quite a while, and desperately needed, as there really hasn't been anything that I know of to replace, container OS by Core OS. Like there's the flat car, there's a couple open source alternatives, but nothing with the full support that you would need if you wanted to be very confident running a production workload on it. And so this is, pretty fantastic. And some of the stuff that they added in at the OS level to, help you automate those clusters and do troubleshooting and stuff is super cool as well. So I look forward to testing this out and trying it out. I wish I hadn't already pivoted all my workloads to Amazon Linux too, and then secured that, just because I would have rather gone this route.
There's always time.
I mean,
there's
cutting edge and there's bleeding edge. I feel like going to Amazon Linux 2 was probably somewhere the cutting edge to stable. Where if you went this way, you'd be pretty bleeding edge with some rough corners. So I think it's awesome, but I think it's definitely going to take a little bit of hardening before it's really ready for everybody. All right. Well, Kendra has some new announcements. So I think previously we had talked about Kendra back in May on episode 71. And basically, we talked about how expensive it was. So Enterprise Edition, which lets you search up to 500,000 documents and run 40,000 queries per day, it was basically costing you about $5,200 a month just to start out. They did have a developer edition, which was slightly cheaper, but of course it's a developer version, not for no SLA there, single AZ. That was giving you $1,800 a month. And so apparently they listened to us because they've given you ability to run smaller, more granular units to enable smaller workloads. And so this new base Kendra Enterprise Edition now supports there's $1.40 per hour or $1,000 a month, offering the same functionality availability at a smaller scale and cost. The base Kendra Enterprise Edition supports up to 100,000 documents and 8,000 searches a day with adaptive bursting capability to better handle unpredictable query spikes. Similarly, the virtual storage capacity units now offer scaling increments of 100,000 documents or up to 30 gigabytes per unit at 70 cents per hour, and a virtual query units offering scaling increments of 8,000 queries per day at 70 cents per hour, which is pretty great. So that's a much more attractive way to enter into this space than the Enterprise Edition version we talked about back in May.
Yeah. No, I remember we made jokes about replacing the built-in Atlassian Confluent search with this, except for we looked up the price and it was going to be just astronomical. Now this is something that, it's still a little expensive for that sort of workload. But if you're running like, a learning platform or, building some internal tools to allow searching your internal corporate internet docs, something, this is definitely something that's usable now, which is great.
Yeah, I think it's much more approachable. I agree. It's a little bit expensive still, but to not have to do Elasticsearch or do some other solution to do this, maybe it's worth the cost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same thing I say about the SFTP managed service all the time. Like, yeah, it's a little bit more expensive than running it on your own EC2, but I don't have to manage it. So I'll take that every day of the week.
Yeah. So, better things to do with our time.
Better things. Well, speaking of better things to do with your time, one of the things that is the bane of all cloud center of excellences is getting people to comply with tags and tag standards. And so the Amazon Solutions there's a new Amazon Solution implementation for called Tag Tamer, which helps you solve problems with a lot of Lambda spackle typically. And sometimes they eventually become products even, which is even better. So Tag Tamer helps you apply tags to new and existing AWS resources using the pre-built web interface that ensures a consistent tagging implementation, providing improved cost allocations, automation, access controls, and organization. And the solution can help with several things, including finding, correcting, and preventing tag misspelling and capitalization errors, which is my biggest pet peeve.
Yep.
No, it's capital, not lowercase. And then those are two. Amazon thinks they're two different tags, even though they're identical. You can now enforce tagging rules. You can find and update incorrect tags. You can find untagged resources. You can export reports of AWS resources and their assigned tags. You can manage your AWS service catalog tag options from this and launch a pre-built, which again has a web user interface to manage tags across AWS accounts and the services, and inspect existing AWS resource tags, modify them, and create usable tag options, as well as store tag key value pairs in a centralized and secure repository, just making it a simple drop-down choice in many places. So overall, this is pretty great. I had some interesting use cases. I think it's cool and definitely something if you're trying to solve the massive tagging nightmare, might be a great solution for you versus building all this in-house, which a lot of people have done with config and different other Lambda rules as well.
Well, and even the organization support for deploying a tagging policy, it sucks to enable that because then nothing you've already deployed is compliant, and so you can't make any changes to those resources. It's very frustrating. So this is a nice counter punch to that, where now you can have a tagging policy, but you roll that out once you've sort of conquered the madness of your existing environment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, but this is a great way to just be able to even start doing it because it gives you that web user interface to actually go modify the tag, so you can start. You can have that meeting that you always have to have with the dev team or the ops team and say, okay, we're going to go through your account today. We're going to tag these things. And now you just do this web GUI. Now, of course, that has to tie back to a bunch of other things like your automation for infrastructure as code, but at least it gets you a starting place, which may be better than nothing.
I like that it's got a little GUI. That's kind of fun.
A lot of the Amazon Solutions implementations don't have GUIs, so it's kind of a unique feature.
No, that is very interesting.
Hey everyone, Jonathan here. I just wanted to take a minute to thank the cloud consulting gurus at Foghorn for helping make the Cloud Pod possible. These folks truly get it. Cloud consulting experts since 2008, they are premier tier partners with AWS, Google Cloud Platform Silver, and Microsoft Azure partners. From multi-cloud to containers to moving full production workloads to the cloud under the tightest compliance, Foghorn's team of full-stack cloud engineers have been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt, and are ready to share their experience with you. If you're in the market for some talent to supplement your team, visit www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. Foghorn, the promise of cloud delivered.
So the Vera C. Rubin Observatory is launching the first preview of its new Rubin Science Platform, or RSP, for initial cohort of astronomers. The RSP provides an easy-to-use interface to store and analyze the massive datasets of Legacy Survey of Space and Time, or LSST, which will survey a third of the sky each night for 10 years, detecting billions of stars and galaxies and millions of supernova, variable stars, and small bodies in the solar system. And as you can imagine, the LSST datasets are unprecedented in size and complexity and will be too large for scientists to download for their personal computers, which, challenge accepted. Instead, scientists will use the RSP to process, query, and visualize and analyze the LSST data archives through a web portal, notebook, and other virtual data analysis services. Of course, all powered by Google Cloud, which has a 3-year partnership with the Rubin Observatory. RSP will be leveraging the Google Cloud Storage, Google Kubernetes Engine, and the Compute Engine, which would be great. And this will be starting sometime in 2023 with the actual surveys. And each scan is expected to be up to about 500 petabytes. All 10 years of scans will be up to about 500 petabytes of data, which is quite a bit.
Can I give a trivia question?
Sure.
So what data set would be bigger than that? Bigger than the universe? All of the possible iterations of a chess game.
Really?
More data, more possible iterations of a chess game than there are atoms in the observable universe.
Well, with your new connections to Google Cloud and with Evoke and your partnership, you should talk to Google about creating the chess move data set so we can analyze that in BigQuery.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really cool use case. Again, the big data use cases that Google's supporting and helping enable are just kind of awesome altogether. And even the scientist community is getting really excited about them as well. There's a quote here from Melissa Graham, lead community scientist for the Rubin Observatory and research scientist in the astronomy department at the University of Washington. Revolutionary nature of the future LSST dataset requires a commensurately innovative system for data access and analysis paired with robust support for scientists. I'm personally excited to enhance my own skills by using RSV's tools for big data analysis, while also helping others to learn and pursue their LSST-related science goals during Data Preview 0, which is the initial cohort, as it's called. So pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's such a breath of fresh air to see this kind of partnership with science versus, like a big corporate entity using, the power to...
Or, big authoritarian, government service that wants facial scanning technology and location data to track humans.
Yeah.
So
Palantir.
Nice.
Excuse me.
All right. Well, Google is introducing a new predictive auto-scaling capability for your managed instance groups, or MIGs. This is a great way to automatically scale your application before the load arrives based on predicted patterns from prior activities. I do want to point out this. So it did burn Slack previously, so be careful. Predictive auto-scaling uses Google Cloud's machine learning capabilities to forecast capacity needs, and it creates a VM ahead of growing demand, allowing enough time for your application to initialize. Today, predictive autoscaling uses your instance group CPU history to forecast that future load and calculate how many VMs are needed to meet your target CPU utilization, which is a faux pas because anybody who's done autoscaling knows that CPU is a terrible metric, but that's okay. You can configure how far ahead you want the autoscaler to create new VM. So, for example, if you know it takes about 5 minutes to spin up your VM, the autoscaler will create the VMs 5 minutes before it actually is needed. The forecasting model understands the difference time of days or days of the week, and I hope to see additional scaling model sometime later in the year beyond CPU. But pretty nice.
Just add like a Bitcoin miner somewhere to make sure that CPU is always the bottleneck.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. No, I mean, these things, auto scaling and adding that in can be difficult, and figuring out when to scale can be challenging. And CPU isn't always the greatest depending on your workload. But anything that you're doing to make that more automatic, and even if it's a starting point to something that you replace with your own automation, that's a little bit more, finer tuned. No, I like these.
Yeah. And if you do a good job of making your instances, or your service fail gracefully, where you don't crash boxes because of the overload, then these tools seem like a great way to go. And sure, you might have a very small service disruption. It would be great if they let you use custom metrics. That's the next step. And then once you can use custom metrics, I would trust something like this over my own algorithms any day of the year.
Well, it's good to see that,
especially when they're threshold based.
I don't know. Yeah, I could write the worst algorithms that leave gaping holes. I could do a good job at that.
That's why they don't let Peter code at Foghorn.
I know, exactly. Take the keyboard away from the CTO. Go back to your PowerPoint.
Well, if you are using the Google Cloud VMware engine, they have a bunch of new features for you this week. So these are all great. And so, of course, they want to post them in a blog post, which means we're going to cover it. So the first one is faster provisioning of VMware Private Cloud. So you can now spin up your VMware Private Cloud in about 30 minutes, which is about 3 billion times faster than your infrastructure team is going to set up a brand new cluster in your data center. So pretty nice there. Autoscaling allows users, they're also adding autoscaling capability, which allows users to leverage a policy-driven automation to scale the nodes needed to meet compute demands of the VMware infrastructure, which is fantastic. And then they have support now for the Mumbai region. So if you have a large India population of users or IT people, they can spin this up there. And then a bunch of new enterprise-grade features for you, including a brand new SLA of 99.99% availability in a single zone for a cluster with fully dedicated 100 gigabits per second east-west networking with no oversubscription and all non-volatile memory express storage. The Google Cloud VMware engine to provide the highest performance for demanding workloads. They have Google Cloud KMS integration, which allows you to use Google Cloud KMS to manage your encryption keys for the vSAN, which you could do previously, but with your own CMEK keys or bring your own keys, which then means you have to rotate them yourself. So getting that from Google's nice. Is now HIPAA compliant for your VMware needs. And they support NSXT for AD, so you can leverage your on-premise AD to authenticate your NSXT users, as well as they now support vSAN trim and unmap, which is basically how you take a thin volume that you made fat and make it thin again. So I can summarize that. And then your new dashboards available to you in the Google Cloud monitoring to make it easier to create alerting and notifications for all your VMware engine needs. So pretty nice.
Oh, they should have named it Binge and Purge.
Yeah, they're getting rid of all the fun names at Google. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think in vSAN it's actually called trim and unmap. I think it's the actual feature name VMware uses, but I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, this is the thing you did when you accidentally made your log files fill up all of your thin provision disks, and how you get back to something reasonable again. So, which I've accidentally done before. So it's a very, very welcome feature.
Yeah. I've never actually managed to get them thin again. I've always just lived with the bloated disk forever.
Well, or you have to go through like terrible gymnastics where you have to like copy this volume into a new volume that's thin provision. Like, it's always awful. Yeah. It takes forever.
I'm far too lazy for that.
Yep. Always good. Well, let's pause for another break. All right, moving on to Azure. Azure has a new VPN NAT for you in preview, which now supports overlapping address spaces between customers' on-premise branch networks and their Azure virtual networks, as well as also enables business-to-business connectivity where address spaces are managed by different organizations. The VPN NAT preview supports a one-to-one static NAT today, so it's not really great for big networks, but a good starting place nonetheless.
Yeah, everything we could do here, it would be great because people spin stuff up in the cloud and don't even know their companies have to have internal private IP management systems, and they spin it up with something overlapping all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge management overhead for infrastructure teams. Acquisitions, it's a huge one where you have to re-IP your machines just to remove the conflict, and then you lose the ability to do stuff, like Kubernetes, because you wanted to deploy that on a network where it can scale. But if you have to have that all unique IP space, you're burning your internal space. You may not have enough, depending on how large you are. Mm-hmm. So yeah, these are great things.
And something that I think Amazon has, I think Google has this as well. So the ability to do this in your NATs, so you can avoid the IP conflict, especially with the transit gateway. That's one of the big features, I believe, from the AWS side.
Is it built in? I didn't realize that was into Transit Gateway where you could actually NAT across.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the features is that it allows you to use multiple, you can use the same IP space in every account if you wanted to. And then just the Transit Gateway will figure it out for you, which I wouldn't recommend, but if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. It's one way to get one cloud formation for all VPCs.
Yeah, because I couldn't parameterize that. I couldn't. And I have no IPAM system that I can just go ask for subnet from. So instead, NAT everything.
For listeners of the Cloud Pod, you know that I have no love for Microsoft Active Directory, which is why I'm excited to tell you about the leading cloud directory platform, JumpCloud. JumpCloud makes it easy to solve today's IT challenges by unifying device and user management through a single pane of glass, enabling you to securely manage your users and devices and perform common tasks like onboarding and offboarding remote workers. With JumpCloud, you no longer need to implement an on-premise Active Directory infrastructure or additional tooling to scope a user's access, and you can ensure that the user is coming from trusted devices and networks. Enabling JumpCloud's Zero Trust solutions improves the security and compliance of your network, ensuring users have access only to the services they need when they need them. To start your organization's move to a modern, secure hybrid work model, try JumpCloud for free today at cloud.jumpcloud.com/thecloudpod. That's cloud.jumpcloud.com/thecloudpod. If you are a customer of New Relic or Azure Spring Cloud, they are now getting married. And so this is the announcing of the integration of New Relic 1 performance monitoring into the Azure Spring Cloud, which I was confused because I was like, Azure Spring? Like, is there a different cloud that only works in the springtime for Azure? No, this is for Spring Boot, which I thought was sort of on the way out, but apparently not out enough that Azure is not going to support it. So Azure has been currently working with many enterprise customers over the last 18 months to learn about the scenarios, and many of these customers have thousands of Sprint Boot apps running on-premise. As they migrate them to the cloud, they need the instrumentation for APM to allow them to see the critical issues that are happening in their application, and that's done by an APM agent like New Relic 1.
Like all things Java, it's always going to be on its way out for the next 50 years.
Yeah. On its way out, yeah. On its way out means only growing by single digits. Yeah.
The nice thing is that the Azure Spring Cloud is actually a partnership with VMware and Azure. So VMware owns Spring Boot, which they bought many years ago. So this is actually supported by VMware and by Azure at the same time, which is actually not bad if you're in that ecosystem, and you do have a Spring Boot app, getting access to VMware engineers to troubleshoot your Java code is always a plus.
Better than me doing it. I'm all for this.
Yeah. Well, we are back with another monthly CTO blog post. And after last month's heavy sales job, I am pleased to announce that it's back to its normal awesomeness. And so, building on a prior article from a few months ago written by Christina Del Amo on advancing safe deployment practices at the Azure cloud, this one covers AIOps for safe deployments and the internal Azure tool called Gandalf. So when doing phase rollouts, you typically have several layers of tests from code to deployment and local watchdogs. And these different tests and data points come together to give you an overall view of the large-scale deployment, leveraging automated monitoring, anomaly detection, and rollout impact assessment solutions to facilitate deployment decisions. So this is basically what I just said to you is we monitor as it goes. So if it's all catching on fire, we stop it from happening to the whole globe. Basically how I can summarize that down. To help put all this together, the Azure Compute Insights team built Gandalf, the safe deployment service, an end-to-end continuous monitoring system for safe deployments. And it serves as a global watchdog, which makes intelligent deployment decisions based on signals collected. So when the data center is on fire because of the new code, it stops things. Working in tandem with the local pre-qualification tests, policies, and watchdogs ensures the deployment minimizes impact to the end users at the end of the day. And overall, this is a really great use of AIOps, one of the better ones I've actually seen. And so I hope this maybe becomes part of an Azure product sometime in the future.
Ooh, yeah, help me do this for my infrastructure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, this is a big problem that almost every business has, right? Which is, how do you stop a deployment, especially a large deployment? And so, typically we throw people at it and we'll have them watch millions of dashboards and hopefully they catch it. But usually it's some problem somewhere that's exposed to the customer that triggers that. So if we can, more tools that detect that earlier, great.
Yeah. I think standard for most companies today is roll it out, let it break everything, and then figure out the fix, and then roll out the fix and fix everything.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for new news this week. Peter, you want to take us to the lightning round?
I would love to. Let's start with soft delete for blobs capability for Azure Data Lake storage is now in limited public preview.
I mean, the joke wrote itself. I mean,
aren't all deletions on blob soft? Like, yeah. How do you do a hard delete on?
Yeah,
on a blob.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amazon EKS managed node groups now supports parallel node upgrades.
Which now means you can take down your entire EKS cluster at the same time to do an upgrade. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you for that, Amazon. This is in response
things faster.
This is in response to that GKE feature that came out, I don't know, like a couple months ago, where they give you the option to do node by node or do massive scale so you can fit into a maintenance window. But I always love services that make you go down if you not do it carefully.
Jokes aside, I finally have my first use case for this, which is, usually you'd want a rolling update so that you can roll back safely and do all these things. But apparently, if you're using certain subscriber tools and event bus tools, you want to basically just, you're going to take the hit, so you may as well get it over with as short as possible, because the subscriber reauthentication and client management will actually make the outage way longer and worse. Yeah.
Should we name it Rip the Band-Aid Off feature?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
AWS Glue Studio now provides data previews during visual job authoring.
Oh, so no code. Perfect. Thank you.
This is just furthering that I really do not know who the target audience for Glue is and what they're trying to do. Every time I try to use it, it doesn't do anything like ETL. And I guess now it will show me in explicit terms that it's not doing what I want on the console. Great.
Yeah, I'm picturing just those, the UI being one of those ads trying to get you to click on that game that has like the doors and the panels and where the water flows out, and you don't want it to drown the person. I don't know how it would work. AWS Glue Data Brew adds support for / delimiter in CSV datasets.
Like, wow, are we gonna get SED support next? Like, can't wait for that.
Yeah, I just gotta feel bad for whatever workload caused this feature request, because this looks like it was bad.
Do you use what? The / What do you mean?
Why?
That's our delimiter.
Yeah, the entire data lake is delimited by /
That feature for your day job, Ryan? It sounds like something you guys would need.
Does sound like something I'd need.
AWS Glue Data Brew also adds support for 14 new advanced data types for data preparation.
What, a string isn't good enough for you, people? You want specific ones now? Ugh. Okay.
Blobs, maybe.
Yeah.
Social
And
security number,
backslashes?
I guess.
Backslashes. I think a new data type is the ampersand delimiter.
Yes. I like it. AWS Amplify launches a new full stack CI/CD capabilities.
Just proving that I still don't understand what this product does, because the whole point of Amplify originally was that you attach it to a GitHub repo and then it would build your static web app or your mobile application and then publish it for you. So wasn't it CI/CD before?
No, because now you have to plug it into a change request process and get it through.
I had to put in a code pipeline now. That's the real shame.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Need more dashboards to track progress to updates.
Well, speaking of Amplify, AWS Amplify CLI now adds support for storing environment variables and secrets accessed by AWS Lambda functions.
Just one more way to store secrets, so when that person quits, I can't find it. Thank you.
No, but this announcement sort of answers the reason for the previous announcement, right? It's like, I guess you want to, if you're going to tie it to GitHub, you want to do different environments, and so you're going to have different secrets in those environments. Yeah, okay.
But if I'm decided on Amplify, am I really clever enough to be storing environment variables that are accessed by Lambda functions? I don't know.
So how many times in your day job has a customer decided on a use case and then specifically hit the edges of that use case, but doesn't really want to re-engineer the whole thing?
So you're saying we start on Amplify and then we're like, uh-oh. That's okay, just stick it in the Lambda function. And then, uh-oh.
I mean, one of the things about Amplify is it's very static asset based, but if you want to do things like form processing or you want to take anything, it's got to go to Lambda. So it's always part of the Lambda story of Amplify. It's just now you have this linkage to put it together.
That sounds great. I can't wait till somebody starts using it. That's going to be fun.
I can't wait till someone starts using Amplify.
AWS IQ now supports attachments.
Oh, good. I can attach the bill for all the IQ points I just lost those last 6 stories.
I got nothing.
I would say yes. Amazon Athena adds parameterized queries to improve reusability and security.
Answering the question, what did I do? How did I get that data?
I like how we went from, here's Athena, which gives you this amazing tool to query your data like BigQuery. I can do all those things on any infrastructure run. And then we're going to give you security controls that say you can only run these certain queries with certain parameters. Great. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
All right. That ends our lightning round, and I'm going to do something unique this time. I don't know if we're going to have a lot of people who are excited about this decision. But I'm going to agree with Justin in that the soft delete for blobs capability joke wrote itself, which means I get the point.
Nice. I accept it. That's
yeah.
I mean, but you got 2 now. I don't know if you ever listened to the Matt episode to find out why he awarded you a point. But
well, he told me offline also that he's like, that's harder than it looks. Harder than it sounds. Yeah.
What's gonna be funny at the end of the year is when you have more points than me.
Yeah.
You're only 3 off. You're only 3 off.
Yeah, it's getting close.
All right. Well, there are things coming up here in July because we are fully in July, 6 months into the year. I don't know where the year's gone, but the Security Summit for Google is coming up on July 20th, which is just a few weeks away. If you're listening to the podcast, when this comes out, you have about a week left to sign up and get on that one. So definitely get to that right away. Retail and Consumer Goods Summit will be on July 27th. Tomorrow is actually the State of FinOps for July, but that will mean that they'll start advertising for the State of FinOps for August because it's a monthly thing. Definitely check that out. This month's topics, I think, are actually out on the website now. I will real-time follow up on this. They are going to be talking about unit cost, activity-based costing tomorrow, adopting FinOps in the enterprise, the state of FinOps for Kubernetes, as well as giving updates on some of their working groups as well in the meeting. So exciting times. I'm sure it's going to be great. If you're in the FinOps Foundation, check those out, as I will be checking out the Kubernetes one. I'm actually kind of curious about that one in particular. We're only a month away from Reinforce, where you can cook eggs on the sidewalk at the conference if you're hungry. August 24th, 25th in Houston, Texas. So do that. So very, very soon. And then Amazon reInvent, of course, is coming up in November, and then Google Cloud Next sometime in October. We believe the 12th to the 14th, but we have not heard much yet on that. I expect to start hearing something in the next month or so. So we'll give you updates as we hear more about Google Cloud Next and what their plans are up ahead. And that isn't it for another fantastic week here in the cloud. Thanks, guys.
All right.
See you next week.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
And that is the week in the cloud. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Foghorn Consulting and JumpCloud. Check out our website, the home of the Cloud Pod, where you can join our newsletter, Slack team, and send feedback or ask questions at thecloudpod.net or tweet us with the hashtag #thecloudpod.